Okay, the clock says it's 7:30, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. In my absence last month, I guess we started a new trend that I see no reason why we can't continue. So I'd like to invite all of you to stand and face the flag, and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good, right?
Very nice.
Okay, hopefully you've all had a chance to read the consent agenda. Is there any questions, additions, comments?
I'll make a comment if I may.
Okay.
Board Member Hands requested that we begin including folks' titles if they're here on official business. So you will notice that we made a change and recognized Bill Clifford as Representative Bill Clifford in the minutes. So that can get tricky. Folks aren't always here in their official capacity, but certainly he took time to speak and talk about what's happening in the legislature. So I did update that. We could go on and on, but I felt like the elected was probably the only one we needed to worry about listing his title. So.
Okay. Minutes. We'll hear a motion to approve.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
All those in favor, say aye.
I'll second first.
Second? Got ahead of myself here. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Looks like public comments. We don't have any visitors this morning, so we'll move on. I don't know if that's a good thing or if they've given up on it.
They've either given up or they've decided we know what we're doing, one or the other.
Okay. All right. Update from Lana Duvall, President.
Good morning.
Morning.
I will note that Ron Schreibvogel is gone. He is having a health procedure done, so he's going to be better than ever with some new parts when he gets back to us.
I think we've got some reverb or something on the microphones.
I'll try to talk quieter.
Don't do that.
All right, so Prospect 724, this is an industrial project. We've provided multiple sites for them, and we're awaiting some additional utility and workforce requirements for their project in order to determine what next steps might look like. 524 is an industrial client with pretty significant utility needs. We have turned them over to the utility provider that they need the most from, and we'll continue to monitor that project. Prospect 324, and this is one that we started obviously back in March, hence the 3. It is a commercial project, and we were able to meet with the project and broker back in March and went through some financial projections and identifying some potential sites for them. They have selected a site, and we're now facilitating discussions with the city as well as with some local lenders on that project. Not a lot of updates on other prospects on housing. We do have some action on Randall Estates. They do have their infrastructure completed per the requirements. However, they're running into some challenges getting that infrastructure accepted. So we're assisting them through that process as well. Same with Country Acres, the development out east of town. We're working with them to get their infrastructure accepted as well. And Sligo Station, we are going through a project of whittling down the budget. The budget came back for the original design at a place where it just isn't feasible to do. Obviously, because we have some MIH money and some tax credits, we're doing everything we can to make that project work. You would think that $3 million would be enough to make a project profitable. Unfortunately, in today's interest markets, it's just not. So we're working on getting that project whittled down to a place where we can get construction started on it. So. Lots of stuff in July. We had a pretty busy month. We're working now, Shannon and I had a call yesterday with a gentleman, and we're hopefully going to see some action there. They're looking at doing some event-type space here, so we'll work with them to see if we can get that to happen. That would be nice, considering that the community did spend quite a significant amount of money on an event space study a couple of years ago, so we'll see where that goes. The Kansas College of Osteopathic Medicine students were in town last night, and Vicki was able to be there. That might have been the only board member, I think. But that was nice. We had a good turnout for that event and got to speak with a lot of those students about the opportunities that exist here. And one has already been, Dr. Durrett, who leads that program for KCOM, told me that one has already been clear that Garden City will be her choice. And there were a couple others I visited with who are seriously considering Garden City for their career. So that's our whole hope in that program, is that we get folks into the community and get them excited about practicing medicine here.
They were impressed with our community, by the way. It's not a surprise. But.
Yeah. So we appreciate that. Grant got to do a tour with them. He took them to the ball game last Thursday night, and then got to do a tour with them, a bus tour with them the next day. So
Where are they from?
all over. They're all in Wichita currently at the medical school, but I talked to one who is originally from Overland Park last night. She's very interested in Garden City, so we're doing our part to convince them this is where they want to be. And then for the August schedule, as a reminder, I'm speaking in La Junta tomorrow, working with their chamber there to try to get some things moving in their community. And then we have our 5th week meeting on Monday. That'll be kind of a joint effort between Derek here at the city, Derek Ramos, and me, talking about workforce and higher education's role in our workforce development. So hopefully we'll see you all there. We will have lunch, and that will be in the large meeting room across the hall. And then don't forget, we have a primary election coming up on August 6th. Some of us certainly won't forget that, Vicki. And I believe that's all that's important of the meetings. Childcare, we're working through now determining whether or not the classroom models are working appropriately for the age ranges. We may have some opportunities to switch things up. We have a significant waiting list for infant rooms. And we have some open preschool classrooms. So the good thing is, in that building we have some options for changing how the enrollment works, just because it is larger than the traditional model. It's 6 classrooms instead of just the 4. So we'll continue to work through that with the executive director there and hopefully find the sweet spot. And I believe that's all I have for you. Happy to answer any questions.
They have early voting.
Yes.
Yes.
It is underway.
Started Monday. Okay, any other questions for Lana? All right, next up, Mr. Cottrell, Special Projects Director.
Yes, thank you for including my title. Okay, this one is very near and dear to my heart. It's Tequila Day.
Oh, I'm sure that's real near and dear to your heart.
It is. It's also Amelia Earhart Day. So everybody remember the famous Kansan who didn't make it home. It's also drive-through day, so pick your favorite place to drive through and just drive through. Don't stop, just it's also Old Joke Day, and since I am an old joke, so it's the least.
I was getting excited for the old joke.
I did seriously. too close to meeting time for me to come up with a real one that was suitable for mixed company and YouTube and all that. Okay, so last month we received 4 RFPs from the Department of Commerce. We submitted on one for a battery recycling company. And the day after that one came, another one came for another battery recycling company that was about 10 times bigger than the one we submitted. So, well, I did one. They need 15 to 30 acres and would employ 120 to 150, so that one was kind of in our sweet spot. Bruckner's facility up north of the bypass is getting close to an end. They'll be moving in September. And they are marketing their existing building for sale. On the commercial side, I've worked on some commercial development concepts, or continue to work on those. The PCD plan and rezoning for Sligo Station was approved by the City Commission on July 16th. I'll edit my report, Scott. And then the Commission also approved the commercial zoning for the 34 acres on the north side of Kansas, east of the Morris substation, which will be one of the next larger commercial development. And up on the corridor, Maverick has started construction, and the Frito-Lay building is trying to get a final inspection, and we're running into some infrastructure acceptance issues with that development as well, trying to work through it. On the residential side, the City Commission approved the rezoning to R3 for the property on the east side of Jenny Barker, north of Marion. The Petra tract was not part of that one. And I did work on a couple of residential concepts, one on a tract in Holcomb and one out in the county. And as Lana said, Randall Estates is out there. Very nice paved entrance off of the highway. And then I did work on the site analysis for a new jail, should that be the decision of the county on the jail complex. So.
Can you say where that would be?
No.
Okay.
Multiple sites.
I examined and explored 5 different sites and decided not to do a 6th one because I'd already submitted the stuff to Commissioner Drews. So. Yeah, they're just preliminary what-if type things, rectangular box of about 70,000 square feet on a piece of property, and discuss utilities, floodplain issues if they exist, and things like that. So, very preliminary, 50,000 foot overview of things. Questions?
There being none, thank you, Steve. Next up, Scott Ost, Communications Director.
This past month has been pretty similar to the previous month, as far as people looking at the website and our Facebook pages. The top things that people looked at, there wasn't anything that really stood out far and above any other, but the airport project, food hall that opened recently, and summer food service from the schools. In addition, on Facebook, another couple of top posts were the Charity Classic, and Deerfield got a new superintendent. On Twitter, Twix, they have hidden the analytics behind a paywall. So I don't have any analytics for how we did on Twitter. Gonna have to pay for it, I guess, if we want to have those kind of numbers. So it's about $84 a month. Or not a month, a year,
A
sorry.
year. Oh,
That's a little
okay.
different, yeah.
Do we need to vote on that?
You do not. That is within our purview to make that expense.
So that's about all I have. If anybody has any other questions about social media.
Okay, we'll move on to Grant Lindenberger, Business Development.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
First client, 7.41, is entertainment. This client is looking to create an entertainment business geared towards a younger audience. The client's had contact with businesses, or with a business owner out of state with a similar concept and has modeled their business plan after this. The client has a preferred location in town, in mind for the business, and will be the general manager of this business. Ultimately, they will need help with financing and be the ones to cover most of the costs. Currently, they need to continue working on their business plan by updating to accurate info and costs that reflect location here in Garden City. And then client 7242 will be private practice. This client is looking to start their own private practice. They had previously talked with a consultant out of state that owns and operates multiple locations within the industry. This paid consultant's provided a business plan for them, and they're using that and they're completing that. Their primary need is assistance in financing. Currently looking at needing $200,000 for startup costs, $50,000 of that being equipment and $10,000 being tech. Then client 7243 would be a restaurant. This client is looking to bring a quick service restaurant to their building. They've been in contact with the franchisor, and in the process of moving forward, they're looking for help in financing. They have talked with their bank and are waiting to hear. We're waiting to hear back what the bank says before we look at gap funding. And then 7244, this is a client that popped up in Sarah. Reached out for an initial meeting. They're looking to create a product. So we'll be having a meeting coming forward soon with them, hopefully. And that's what. And then, as Lon mentioned, I got to spend some time with ACOM students at the wind game on the 18th. And I got to take them on a bus tour the next day. We went all through Garden City and talked about as much as we could. And they were the right group of students. It was fun to go on that tour with them. It was a good experience for all of us. And that's what happened.
Excuse me, they have many comments about things, or?
Not a whole lot. There was a few here and there on, just what type of jobs there are here that aren't related to getting a full education. That was one. But for the most part, they listened.
Okay. Any questions for Grant?
I was speaking with one of the students last night, and he said that the students who were here were like at the top of the class. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that was really,
Yeah.
really cool. That's an exciting program. I'm so glad to see that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
Next up, Shannon Dick, Director of Analytics.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
First of all, I'll talk a little bit off script. Since Sam gave me this paper here, this is from the K-State Foundation magazine. And their cover article is called Tackling the Water Crisis, and the name of the magazine is called Good for K-State. Just a reminder that we just finished up that second, or I think it's the third year, doing the GMD3 water report where we send out a water use information. I think everything is, GMD3 is stuffing envelopes, if not have stuffed envelopes and sent out. So I don't know if everybody's got them yet, but we've done our end of the analysis and everything. A little bit better year last year with the rain and everything that we got, so we're still looking pretty good. If anybody remembers, we're talking about water and our groundwater in GMD3. We're talking over the last, we need to reduce around 20%, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on where you're at, to have a sustainable aquifer. If you look at the difference in the last 10 years to the 10 years prior to that, we've had our farmers have reduced by 15% by themselves without government intervention. However, everybody and their doc is now taking this as their personal crusade to fix. And we see it across the newspapers, just everything. This is one of the hot topics all of a sudden. They never give credit or talk about where we're currently at. They always just say, we're in a dire situation, we need to change everything that we've been doing, and never looking at what's going on there. K-State says that they've assembled a dream team to tackle this issue, which is nice. I'll pull out a quote from their from this article that says, let's plan to maintain the economy out in western Kansas. So K-State, or at least these guys, think that we should maintain. We don't really need to grow, let's just maintain. Western Kansas, let's try to do whatever we need to do today to make sure that 100 years from now, we have sustainable irrigated ag industry out there.
Out there.
This is K-State, Land Grant University. Their plan for us is to maintain the economy out there. So,
Our work is not finished.
and again, when we do these kinds of things, we do recognize that it is something we need to tackle. And it is something that is vital to western Kansas, to us out here. But at the same time, it gets frustrating over and over and over where the things that we have been doing since the 80s, where our water usage has been reduced by 50%, not because the aquifer has dried up, and there has been places where aquifer has dried up, and we have to switch to dry land agriculture. But we're talking about, and I actually have slides, which is really nice to be able to have the slides that I left in this presentation in here, because we can talk about the importance of agriculture in Southwest Kansas. It would be nice if we got some credit for the work that we have been doing, especially the farmers that have been doing those reductions in water without government intervention. Anyway, so the reason I'm here is to talk about the educational needs in Kansas. And a lot of this stuff you've seen before, these kinds of presentations have been spread out over a bunch of different ones. So I'm rolling all this together in one to talk about the educational needs. This is that map that you've probably all seen. This is the distance to four-year colleges. And you can definitely see there's a concentration of where colleges are in Kansas. And remember the study from California that looked at what's the barrier to university education. Once you get past 50 miles, so anything where you have a green or a pink, again, and I do search, is anybody actually colorblind on our board? Because I actually don't think about that when I make these maps. I'm not, so I can definitely tell the difference between red and green. But so anything that's red here means that those communities are significantly impacted by distance. That is the number one reason why those communities won't get a four-year degree. So that's that map there. The other thing we've been talking about is how much are we investing in other communities because we have a lack of that four-year university. And you've seen this was updated. I did this presentation last year. So if we just look at our graduation class from 2022, how many people went directly to four-year, 65 people, how many people went to a two-year college, which almost is exclusively Garden City Community College, and then from there went to a four-year degree, and how many went to other. That other sometimes is like Goodland Tech. There's some people that go to Goodland Tech or Wichita Tech. Out of this class here, there was none, but sometimes we have a number there. So how many of those went on to a four-year degree is 172. If we look at the current stats, I did look up some research, and it's kind of muddy on here, but in general, across the nation, if you're in a rural community and you do have a kid that goes to a urban university, which Manhattan would count because they're a metro, K-State would count. Hayes wouldn't necessarily count because that's not a metro community. But for the most part, you would expect to lose more than half of the students that go from a rural community to an urban four-year university. So we would expect to lose half of those students long term. But overall, we'd lose 172 students that have to try to get back. If you look at the cost that it takes to educate a kid per year for 13 years, every kid that we put through our school system, we've invested $300,000 into them, which means when we're sending those 172 kids off to, out to most likely eastern Kansas, best case central Kansas, we lose about $52 million of investment each year with those kids. And more than half of those we lose long term, like they're gone. So that's a big number there. The next slide. Then we start talking about, well, what is the need? How many people could we attract for furthering education? And this is based on that trade area map. Remember when we talked about like those posts when we're talking about opening up Kohl's or opening Old Navy, and people were saying, I'm glad we're opening up an Old Navy here in Garden City in our home community while they're living in Sharon Springs. So this is those people who are considering Garden City as a home community. How many high school students do they have that are graduating, and how many do we expect them to be distance impacted? Not all of them are going to be distance impacted, but how many would we expect to see if we look at the research? We're talking about every year about 1,000 students that are distance impacted. The reason they are not going to a four-year university is because of the distance, which means if we were to be able to gather those in one place, we would have about a university of about 4,000 people, which I believe is bigger than Washburn, if I remember the size of the colleges in Kansas correctly. So we have a significant amount of people that are available. To further reinforce that distance is making a difference, if we look at the rate of bachelor degree attainment in adults in Kansas, it's about 34%. In Southwest Kansas, it's 18%. In Finney County, it's about 18%. I did see another interesting research article yesterday when I was looking through some other things. Nationally, the rate of attainment of bachelor's degrees is 33%, which hits right on with what Kansas is. And an average rural community, it's not Southwest Kansas, but an average rural community across the nation has about an 18%, it's a little bit closer to 19, but about 19% attainment of bachelor's degrees. So when we're talking about urban versus rural divide, we're hitting about the expected rate of bachelor's degree attainment. So again, that kind of reinforces our biggest issue we have isn't how good our students are doing, isn't the ethnicity makeup of our students, it's the distance too. It's being in a rural community, not having access to that four-year degree. And then to further do this, because what I like to do is just keep on pounding nails into the arguments that I have, the highest degree attainment in the adults, and this is for a grant that we help an organization apply for. This is a Western Kansas community versus a non-Western. And I don't remember exactly what made up a Western county versus a non-Western county. It was part of their grant application. But if we look at this area, we have the high school, the amount of high school graduates we have in Western versus non-Western Kansas is the same, is about equal. The amount of some college, the associate's degree, is in this technical college, is also in this category, which we have out here in Western Kansas, is the same between Western and non-Western Kansas. Then we go bachelor's, and we get a bachelor's degree, which we don't have a lot of the options. Again, we're getting more of these, but we don't have those built environments to get these, and we can definitely see that's where we have a drop off. So that's kind of talking about how some of this numbers that we see is just because of lack of access to some of these educational things. So we can look about what the demand is. And I have two ways in the next after this that we've already looked at, so I'll breeze over them fast. This is new data that just came out from the Department of Labor that's looking at high demand, high growth, high wage jobs in Southwest Kansas. And they say there is 2013, 2,319 current openings. If we break those down into 5 categories, one is jobs that aren't high demand and high growth and high wage, which means you could be high demand and high wage, but not high growth. You'd be put in here, or high demand, high growth, but not high wage, like retail cashiers or something like that. We get about, of the job openings that we have, about 1,500 of them fall into that. Not all 3 of those at the same time. Most of those don't have any educational needed for that, and the average income is $3,000 or $30,500. Then if we break down the jobs that are high demand, high growth, high wage, about 380, about half of them, about a little bit less than half of them are only needing a high school education. Average income is about 49,000. If we look at the ones that have at least an associate's degree, you have another 84 that would need that. That's at 54,000 average income. Bachelor's degree is 300. Average income is 64,000, and a master's plus is 26, and 108. And then what's interesting is once you get to the bachelor's and master's, so the way that they did this is they, instead of giving you a useful number, they just gave it a rating of 1 to 10, how in demand and how many job openings there are. So I don't really know what a 9 or a 10 means, but when you get to bachelor's and master's, those jobs, when we're talking about high demand, high growth, high wage, those are all 9s and 10s on the demand, how many jobs you have open right now. So there's a lot of opportunities, and this again is just Finney County. So this is kind of how the Department of Labor is breaking things down. One interesting thing, anytime there's a number and then there's another number you can times them by, they can add them all together. I like to do that. So if we just were to fill from what the Department of Labor says, which is actually I think a low estimate, we're missing out on about $92 million of unfilled wages in Finney County just right now. I mean, if you think about how much that would turn inside the economy, which we have. But I don't necessarily agree that this is the best way to look at how many jobs and what the future is and the future educational needs are. If we go to the next, I'm going to blow through these next ones because we've seen this before. We did this just a couple months ago. This is again talking about the agricultural production by location out there. So you can see in our counties we have very high amounts of agricultural production. And then go to the next slide. So we see the ag output that we have out here. We're making up almost half of all the ag production. And remember, in Southwest Kansas, our ag production is bigger than the entire aerospace and aircraft industry in Kansas by just our ag production out here. So big deal. Keep on going. Remember how we were saying, well, what kind of, if we just look at ag, what is the job demands and what kind of educational needs do we have? We have an estimation of 64,000 jobs, direct jobs in Southwest Kansas by ag. Next one. And then what that means is if you look at the current rate of how many people need to be a bachelor's degree from the Department of Labor statistics, that means we need about 29,000 degrees out in Southwest Kansas. Next slide. So then we can break it down and say, well, just with agriculture, if we just look at the demand, and this was, remember talking with the co-op and talking with different people, how many people they need to be bringing in. We're saying alone that we need about 600, somewhere between 300 to 600 of just ag educated people in Southwest Kansas. So that's what we also measured the need for jobs and education out here. And then the other one, I believe this is my next slide. And then remember we talked about the difference in demand based on what a city like us should have for employment and what we do have for employment. And when we're missing, like, for example, nurses, we're very, very short of nurses. Department of Labor says we're about 100 short. If we look at a city like ours compared to other cities like ours, we're closer to that 300 or even more than that short. So a lot of different ways we could measure this. I think we're going to go into a little bit more like Mona said on that fifth week meeting about educational needs. So just again, kind of like with the K-State thing, remember there's lots of different ways to measure things. And they all kind of point in the same direction. The specific numbers can be different, but we definitely know that we do need more access to educational opportunities, and we do have high growth areas and high-end, high-wage areas that we can focus on to better further our community and give everybody the opportunities that they should. So that was a lot of talking, but I didn't talk last time, so it was okay.
Who all have you shared this information with, Shannon?
We've done some parts of it to a lot of different people, all of it now to you. Well, and that's what I said. A lot of these slices have been done like that. That map to four-year degree. I mean, that's been shared far and wide. I would hope even people in Topeka have seen that. That stuff with the jobs and stuff like that is newer. So with the people that pay attention and ask, that we can share it with. So I'm willing to share it with anybody who wants to listen. further away they are from here, the more I'm willing to share it.
Good information.
I thought it was really interesting, the difference in pay for a bachelor's versus a master's.
Yeah.
A huge difference there, but do you happen to know where the majority of those masters are needed? Is it, I'm gonna guess, medical field?
It was medical, and there are, in medical, and very broad, like,
Medical and education.
yeah, medical
Okay.
education, and then, I mean, we're talking like psychology and all of that. And then there's some administration positions that go there too. The other thing, thank you, I'm glad you brought this back up, because some people are gonna say, well, there's not very much of a difference between a high school degree and an associate's degree. The thing that we need to remember, that high school is only looking at the jobs that are high demand, high growth, high wage. So they already have to be high wage jobs to be in that high school level, whereas at associates is associate. So if you go average all of the jobs available for people with only high school or below attainment, we're talking closer to about 32,000. So there is a very significant jump between high school degree and associate's degree in Southwest Kansas. This kind of steers, and I was going to try to make a point of it before I decided to tackle really long. So think closer. If you don't have a high school degree, an associate's degree, you're closer to that 30,000 than 54. So that associate's degree is not as significant between bachelor's and master's, but it's a very significant bump up in that average pay in Southwest Kansas.
Well, I can speak that the college and higher education, they have to have a master's degree to instruct.
Right.
That come down about 2 years ago, something like that.
Yep, every teacher at the community college has a master's degree.
Unless
Which is
it's
not the
technical.
state- Which is not the case at universities. You can be taught by people that have a GTA that aren't even have a degree yet.
Dave, is it difficult for the college to fill open positions with those degrees?
Not really. I mean, we have quite a few open positions, but some of them are in the technical program, like,
Tech is harder because they can make more private sector
yeah.
than they
Like we-
can working at the community college.
The fire instructor retired here a few years ago, and we're still looking for one there. A lot of it's taught through fire department here, good partnership. And they do have somebody on board that's kind of directing the program, but it's not hired as an instructor, really, so. And Shannon, can you send that to me?
Yeah, and there'll be a broader presentation. This will be included in Mondays, but there'll be even a broader presentation at that point.
Since I have to,
Make
give
a report.
every month.
I think it would be good if you could send it to all of us.
That would be
I'm sure
great.
we'd all be interested in it.
Do you want this one, or do you want the broader report that we're doing for
I
Monday?
think the broader.
Let's go
would
for
be
the
good.
whole.
The whole shebang?
Yeah.
All right. As soon as it's finished, we'll send it off to you.
Thank you.
But you'll get it before that, so you can do a report.
Okay, any other questions for Shannon? Good information, thanks Shannon. Okay, new business. Consideration of dates for November and December meetings.
Yes, so I sent you all a brief memo just explaining it. The November meeting always falls the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So as long as that works for everybody, the staff certainly doesn't mind doing it on that day, but if we need to move that up a week, we're happy to do that as well. Really depends on your schedules.
It's fine with me.
Fine with me.
Either way.
Boy, you guys are boring. Or you don't have anybody who invites you for Thanksgiving, which is it?
It's usually at our house.
There you go. Well, okay.
So what is that date?
That'll be November 27th
Okay.
is when that meeting will be.
Everybody's good with that?
Now-
Janet?
But we're going to move it to the week before.
Nope. Oh, did you want to move it to the week before?
Yes, please.
You do need to move it to the
Yes.
week before. Anybody else need to move it up? Would it make sense to move it up?
I'm okay moving it up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd make
I'm sure not all of us know what our plans are for Thanksgiving yet, but
It's July. Come on.
That's that week
You
before.
don't have your turkey yet?
let's move it up. So that would be the 20th?
That would move it to the 20th.
Okay.
That would be the Board of Zoning Appeals meets that day at 9 a.m. in this room, so we just need to be done by then, which shouldn't be a problem.
It should not be a problem. All right, and then in December, I am hoping you're all okay with moving away from Christmas Day. If you're not, I'm happy to spend Christmas Day with all of you. You're that important to me. But I'm guessing we won't have anybody here to open the building.
Yes,
So would we like to move that one to the 18th,
yes.
a week ahead? Okay. All right, I will notify Celine with the city so she can reserve the room for us, and then she'll remind us that we need to leave by 9 o'clock. I'm sorry?
No vote required?
Is there a vote? Do we need to vote?
We can go ahead and take a vote if you'd like. If somebody wants to make the motion to move the November and December meetings up 1 week.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to have our November 20th board meeting on November 20th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And on December 18th, motion move to move it ahead 1 week.
I'll
So
make
moved.
that motion.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Old business.
No.
Upcoming events.
5th week meeting, Monday.
5th week, yeah. Okay, next month's meeting is the 28th. And in September, the 25th. Guess we adjourn this meeting. Is there a need for
There is.
executive session? Okay. And how long?
I would suggest 20 minutes.
Okay. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting, go into executive session.
We need a motion to go into an
Motion.
executive session for client confidentiality, please.
Minutes, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
There will be no action following executive session.
Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
Hey, Shannon.